Herman Scuttle here. And as usual, I have a lot to say, and I'm saying it. But first, the news. There are some news items I must pass along right away. First, a newly developed calculator can forecast the day you die. The Technical University of Denmark has created a device that can predict your death date within 80% accuracy. And on a smaller scale, they're offering a pocket calculator to determine how many pockets you have. Also in the news, an Indian martial artist named Sidhu Kashirti accomplished an unusual feat. He punched a punching bag for a duration of 55 hours without stopping. And now he plans on attending art school where he can learn to draw blood. And finally in the news, a 285-year-old lemon was recently auctioned in Shropshire, England, and the aged lemon was sold for $1,750. And never forget, when life gives you lemons, throw them as hard as you can at the people who are bothering you. That's the news. Now, as I said, I've got a lot to say, and I'm saying it. Now, before bed last night, you reminded yourself about the tasks you had to accomplish first thing in the morning, like fixing the dripping faucet in the kitchen sink, looking for your missing bifocals, calling Big John to borrow his chainsaw. Well, all of a sudden it was morning, and the first thing you were dealing with was a headache and nausea, which were the after effects from your drunkenness before bed last night, meaning you wouldn't be present and accounted for first thing in the morning. But let's face it, nothing in the life you lead requires first thing in the morning priority. That is, you've established a solid reputation for accomplishing tasks when you get around to it, which is the right thing to do in your hungover circumstance, which should eliminate any kind of panic at being powerless to do what you thought was important to do to start the day. Got it? Okay. In other words, waking up with the heebie-jeebies has created an abrupt change of plans for you. So, you're stuck with the last thing you need first thing in the morning. Now, there was a little snowfall this morning. Is that what you're saying? A little snowfall? And you're just waking up and you see a light dusting of snow on the ground. Okay. But if you're awakening to fresh snow on the ground and you find yourself on the ground too, you have to ask yourself, why? Why? And your answer will probably have many nuances, like, did you get beat up and left for dead by that big, greasy loan shark that you're indebted to? Or did you get beat up and left for dead because you look like Justin Bieber? Or maybe you were out stargazing at the starry, starry night and a chunk of space debris landed on your skull. Well, whatever happened to make you find yourself flat on the ground at the crack of dawn, right there in the new fallen snow, it was fundamentally the result of gravity. 1 minute you were standing, then abruptly you were down and out. So now, you had better adapt or die. Never mind overanalyzing your predicament. Simply get vertical. Find a good two-legged balance and dust yourself off. And for as long as you can or care to, keep yourself properly grounded. Could lead to less confusion next time you're horizontally challenged. Did somebody say snow in the forecast? Well, it's no cause for alarm. It shouldn't be, not here in the Berkshires. Yet, a cliche generates in the reflexes of some of us, and we must beat the weather clock and go buy milk and bread. It's a traditional panic over impending snowfall due to meteorological brainwash. And then it's, holy smokes, they're saying 5, 6, 7 inches. Better get a gallon of milk and a couple loaves of bread, which is shoot from the hip hysteria after all these years of living in New England. Come on, go figure. But anyone, now pay attention to this, anyone who is planning to actually be snowbound really, really ought to stock up on crunchy treats. Because that's what you need if you're stuck indoors because of snow. You'll be watching movies, working the phone, smoking weed, watching movies, working the phone, smoking weed. So before any kind of a snowy deluge, hurry up and bring in a supply of crunchies, like saltines, popcorn, mixed nuts, trail mix, pretzel sticks, rice cakes, pumpkin seeds, roasted chickpeas, tortilla chips, kale chips, poker chips, paint chips. Lots and lots of crunchies to satisfy your hedonistic hunger. But, of course, maybe you might find yourself snowed in with nothing crunchy but dog biscuits. And that could be worse, but make sure you go 50-50 with the dog. Now, if you're down to nothing but dog biscuits and you don't have a dog, well, you've been inside too long. Get outside, give yourself free rein to howl and tinkle and maybe even chase a snowplow. Now me, in the snow, what I do is I kick the snow off my boots, I unlock the door, and I go inside and strip. Because in the wintertime, it takes a long time for me to unwrap myself, peel off all the gear, the leather, the wool, the long underwear. But I am too wizened to just fling everything in the corner. I must fold, hang the closet things in the closet, empty the pockets, put the keys on the hook, wallet and change in the drawer, draw the shades, and pull the curtains. This, after getting down to in the raw, bare skin naked. Now, you know, cowboys weren't much different than me. They would drive their cattle, rope and ride, poke that branding iron, snuff that rattlesnake, and then canter back to the ranch. Scrape the scat off their boots, pass into the bunkhouse, strip down to in the raw, bare-skinned naked, like me. And as for me, I then reach for my guitar and I sing cowboy songs. I unravel. I get sleepy and numb and I fall into a faint. And then it's adios, amigo, as I drift off into the mind's great ponderosa. Yeah, I do have a song. As usual, I do have a song. And I wrote it just last night. And just for you, a brand new song. You know that it would be so true. You know that it would not be wrong if I was to say to you, the time to hesitate is gone. Come on, baby, light my bong. Make me feel like Cheech and Chong. Come on, baby, light my bong. Yes, I know. Now then, I did say I have a lot to say, and I am continuing to say it. And I will say that if at first you don't succeed, don't try to figure it out. Oh yes, I know, you've tried and tried again and again to be successful, but you always seem to bomb and miss the mark and come to nothing. And now you are convinced that your multiple failures are scientific proof of your irreversible status as a big stinking loser. But no. I mean, sure, you've been having trouble achieving your goals for most of your miserable adult life, but come on, you can't be blamed. I'm telling you here and now, with the utmost authority, that all of your shortcomings are clearly somebody else's fault. Some nefarious entity out there has made it their goal to make sure that you fail, regardless of all the harebrained ideas you've concocted over the years trying to get ahead of the game. These reprehensible scoundrels are out and about in every nook and cranny, and every nook and cranny, and they've got you locked in their crosshairs. They have predestined you to feel useless, and they won't stop until you throw in the towel. Well, forget about that. How about having some ice cream with me? Huh? Matter of fact, meet me at the ice cream store this afternoon. My treat. And yes, you can bring your dog. Then, together for a few moments, nothing can stop us from successfully feeling pretty much on top of the world. Oh, maybe a little brain freeze included, but no head games allowed. Now, by now, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, the salutation, Happy New Year, is yesterday's news, right? After the last week in January, nobody wants to hear Happy New Year. And also by now, you've surely broken your New Year's resolution. As if your silly little holiday pledge qualified as a sacred cow. Well, at least you weren't reckless enough to promise yourself to stop breathing for this year. Give yourself credit for instinctively inhaling and exhaling and not considering too much self-torture. Your breathing reflex is way too important to your lifespan So don't gamble with your respiratory system. And speaking of breathing, what's your favorite part of it? The inhale or the exhale? Of course, if you're underwater, neither is recommended. Just be sufficiently prepared before you go underwater by sucking in plenty of air above the surface. And then stay under for no more than 15 seconds. And how about asking yourself, why are you in the water in the first place? What's in that body of water that's so important that you have to submerge yourself and risk ending your life as a lousy drowning statistic? Come on, never mind all that. Just stay up on dry land and concentrate on respiratory goodness from whatever oxygen is still breathable, and then possibly resolve to have as much happiness as you can suck in for a happy today and tomorrow and maybe even the next day. Yes, I do have some correspondence. I don't particularly care for correspondence. I don't encourage it, but I have some correspondence. The first one comes from somebody named Jimmy Vertex from Hancock, Massachusetts. He said, "What kind of music do windmills like?" I don't know. I've heard that windmills are heavy metal fans. Here's one from G. Gordon Auger from Worthington, Massachusetts. He says, "I'm thinking about becoming a plumber. That's a good job, right?" Oh, yes, yes, yes. And when your apprenticeship is finished, you'll be officially toilet trained. And finally, here's one from Angie Ventilator from North Adams. Angie says, "I heard that McDonald's is adding something to their menu to honor the Rolling Stones. Is that true?" Yes. It's a new sandwich made of beef lips. It's called the McJagger. Producer, how much time do I have left? Do we know?
About 15 minutes.
Oh, well, 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Still have a lot to say, and I will be saying it. For example, a reminder that you should always make sure to get your proper rest. Not much else in life is more important than getting sufficient rest, no matter what it takes. Even if it's not perfect official textbook rest, just take some time every now and then to stop dead in your tracks and let rest happen, however it happens. Well, maybe all you can come up with is make-believe rest, like playing dead. But keep on breathing, and then slow down the breathing with eyes closed. The length of this breather only needs to be a minute or two, and usually you won't die. But please, don't waste time trying to figure all of this out. Just do it. Get your rest. Get your rest. And get your rest. And understand, you're simply taking a break. You're not breaking the law. Then pick yourself up and resume what's left to the rest of your life, which will probably amount to a range of personal hullabaloo in your remaining tedious cartoon existence. And don't forget this. A little bit of apathy goes a long way. I can tell you that from my own personal experience, especially during these golden years of my life. Just scratch the surface and you'll find that old age is about as gilded as fool's gold, or brass-plated plastic, or copper-colored paper mache. I am in the home stretch of a pointless life, a mind-numbing, day-to-day twaddle, and I don't care no more about nobody or nothing. Apathy, like beauty, is its own excuse for being. I'm not like those self-satisfied everybodies who've been chasing rainbows from womb till tomb for a pot of doubloons. Just give me apathy or give me a spaghetti western. Yeah. Give me a stack of DVDs with early Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, Franco Nero, and Terrence Hill, those grisly gunslingers who looked as skeevy back then as I do now. Shoot 'em up cowboys, all of them either dead now or endangered. They're even Steven with me right now. Our hearts are cold, pure cold, not warm and fuzzy. And I couldn't care less. Just give me apathy or give me nothing. At least until better nuggets of indifference come along. Yes, yes, yes. Well, I still have plenty of stuff to say. And I will tell you now about what's her name. What's her name? She called me up to say she happened to be in the neighborhood. And she said, "You want some company?" Well, I was watching boxing. I was watching Alvarez and Golovkin. No need for companionship. I was much better off alone. But I owed what's-her-name a little friendliness, so I said, okay, yeah, come on over. I'm still at the same place, 3rd floor. She asked me to have a pot of tea ready, like in the good old days. But there were no good old days. We just experimented with each other for a year or so, and as we got closer, things turned dull and unoriginal. It was a predictably unsuccessful case of trial and error, with both of us desperately impatient for emancipation. Oh, did she say pot of tea? Well, I had no tea bags. So I ran over to the cedar trees in front of St. Joseph's Church, took a few clippings, and ran back home to make tea. What's-her-name said, "This tea is fabulous. What is it?" I said, "It's very sacred. It's called St. Joe's Proper Tea," thinking that someday this could be remembered as one of the good old days. How many minutes I have left? 10 minutes left? Good. That's good. Oh, yes. Now, some of you are familiar with the term date night. And for me, at one point, date night sounded like a good idea. And it was a good idea. My friend Sarah and I decided to meet for a nice dinner together once a month. Perfect. And there was nothing identical about us. We were actually polar opposites in art and entertainment, in euphoria, sobriety, political affairs, and even in the baby Jesus. But under the skin, where it counts, We were meant for each other. Our souls hungered for each other with regularity. We were comfortably aware of mutual love, but intimidated by passionate obsession. And why bother overanalyzing it? Sarah would say, I got no more family, no circle of friends. All I do is work my butt off to live the way I live. Yeah, I got a little stash in my piggy bank, yet by and large, I'm just stuck with me, which can be crippling, but it's what I'm good at. So don't try to change me. Okay? But my situation was different. I had blood relatives close by, pals and buddies and friendly faces everywhere I turned, which cuts into any kind of privacy. Somebody was always calling me on the phone. Somebody else would be knocking at my door. And as for romance, the tingle of romance always caught me off guard and made me embarrassingly vulnerable. But that night, that date night, there was a particular date night that I remember, and Sarah didn't show up. And that shook me up for a minute. It was a momentary shockwave from the terrible effect of her absence, which I tried to pretend was no big deal. And I went home, I paced the floor, and I growled. I stood in a hot shower for half an hour. But then I went upstairs and I knocked on Elsie's apartment door. Elsie was reliable, with an atmosphere of informality, conversation, and cannabis. Elsie wasn't Sarah, although she was strong and capable for a challenge like me. And when she put her hand on my knee, it gave rise to rudimentary surrogate love. Nothing to write home about, but Elsie rightly takes pride in her ingenuity as a designated hitter. Consequently, date night sounded like a good idea and was a good idea, meaning that Elsie and I decided to meet for a nice dinner together once a month. Perfect. Yes. Before I go, I'll tell you quickly about Bigfoot. The other day, now you're not going to believe this, but this is the truth. I wouldn't tell you. If it wasn't true, I wouldn't tell you. I met Bigfoot on my hike in the woods. And he was a nice enough guy. But Bigfoot hates the name Bigfoot. Well, I said, okay, what about Sasquatch or Yeti or the abominable snowman or swamp ape? He said, come on, Herman, allow me a little dignity. Call me the Bugaboo Kid. Fair enough. So stop saying Bigfoot. He wants to be called the Bugaboo Kid. Spread the word. And that's about it for today. This is Herman Scuttle. So long until next time.